Hey everyone, welcome back to another week of the Triple Play. This is Danielle. We have a lot to catch up on. We missed a show last week due to weather. I guess Mother Nature just didn't want us to come in, talk UT sports, but that's okay because we're back this week, and I have two new co-hosts on this show. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves. Henry, we'll start with you.
I'm Henry Koch, big-time hockey fan.
What year are you here at UT?
I'm a sophomore.
Solid, and you're studying journalism.
Mm-hmm.
So what career goals do you have, like after college?
I don't really know yet. Just cover sports some way.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Totally cool. And then Mason.
I'm Mason Taylor. I'm a sophomore here at UT. I'm in journalism right now, studying journalism, and after I graduate, I hope to work in radio in some sort of capacity.
Awesome. Well, it's great to have you guys on the show for your first time. It's going to be a really exciting show. We have a lot to talk about. We're going to go ahead and dive right into it. Big week for basketball for the Vols, but for the men, it was really big last week. Big Tuesday game against top-ranked Kentucky coming into Knoxville. Very tough game for the Vols. A lot of people weren't expecting them to be as close as they were throughout the game. Still a loss for the Vols, losing 66-48, but I mean, whenever you have the top-ranked team coming in and you go into halftime down by 4, that's saying something, because Kentucky, they can be really strong in the first half and then just dwindle down in the second. So, I mean, it's kind of reversed a little bit for this game. Punter for the Vols, 14 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, and 1 steal. Big game for him. But one thing that really surprised me looking at the stats was Armani Moore getting 8 rebounds for this game. I know I was predicting Reese to kind of come in and steal the show in the rebounds, in the rebound area with his vertical being as strong as it is. But, I mean, Reese was still, he had a strong night getting 2 assists. That's really good for him. But seeing Moore get those 8 rebounds was really surprising. But for the Kentucky side of the ball, not a big surprise. Devin Booker came in and just stole the show. Freshman, 6'6" guard, I believe he is. Guard or forward? I'm getting mixed up. Yeah, guard, I was thinking. But big game for him. 18 points, 7 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 steal. I think it's pretty easy to say he's kind of the playmaker right now for Kentucky. I think right now he's up to averaging 11 points solid per game, so that's really good for him. But, I mean, overall, tough loss for the Vols, but if you're staying this close to the top-ranked team, there's a lot to be proud of.
Yeah, only shooting 2 for 17 really hurt the Vols.
Absolutely.
3-point range. And they only shot 40% from the line, but they only took 10 free throws compared to, I don't know how many Kentucky had, but
21. Kentucky went 17 for 21 at the free throw line, so, I mean, that was insane.
Yeah.
But also, you mentioned 3-point shots for the Vols going 2 and 17. Definitely a tough stat to look at. It still makes me cringe because, I mean, that's really low. But looking at Kentucky's 3-point range shots, 5 for 22 from the arc. So, I mean, there's still a lot that we can still be happy about with them getting that low. And looking at Devin Booker, because coming into the game, I mean, I've watched Booker this season. My dad's a Kentucky fan, so I mentioned it multiple times. We still haven't really talked about this game, but we have talked about Booker. And going into the game, all I kept saying to my friends was expect Booker to come out and just be loud with his 3-point shot. I mean, it's one of the prettiest 3-point shots I've seen. I kind of compare it to Stephen Curry at times, but for him to only go 2 from 9 from 3-point range, that was really surprising to me.
Yeah, he's shooting 45% on the season, so
yeah,
did not shoot the ball well that night.
No, I mean, still really strong night for Kentucky as expected. But one other stat to look at that kind of made me really happy, because I was really thinking that in this aspect of the stats line, it would have been really ugly. 35 rebounds for both teams. Yeah. I was really thinking Kentucky was just going to come in with their size, because, I mean, the last time we played them last season, we had our own 2 towers between Maimon and Stokes. But this time Kentucky comes in and they have towers on towers on towers, 2 7-footers that you can just bring in whenever you need to. And then you have, I want to say, 8 to 9 guys ranging from anywhere from 6'6" to like 6'11". So, I mean,
they're enormous.
It's
and
insane.
We're not that big of a team either.
Absolutely. I mean, all of our guys on the team are 6'somethings, but if you have 2 guys in there that are 7-footers, it's going to be insane. But for the Vols to come out and still get 35 rebounds, I want to say that might have been like 19 offensive. I may be wrong on that stat. But
Exactly 19.
it was 19. Okay. I mean, still very impressive for the Vols.
Yeah.
Going on to their next game that they had Saturday against Ole Miss. Such a tough loss in Oxford. It looked so promising, but that final shot, Josh Richardson puts up a 2-point jumper, and it just goes in, comes straight back out. It was painful. It looked like Gordon Hayward almost, like Duke against Butler for the championship a few years back. It's just really tough to see. Vols lost to Ole Miss 59-57 on Saturday. Armani Moore had a big day, going with 15 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists, 2 steals, and 2 blocks. But Stephen Moody for the Rebels, I mean, he almost looked unstoppable. 22. Oh, yeah, sure.
6 of 11 for 3-point
Is that not insane?
That's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous. 6 for 11. 22 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, and 6 steals. I mean, I expected this game to be fairly close, but 2 points was absolutely insane. I think right now where the Vols are standing in the SEC, I mean, we're pretty much straight in the middle. 6 and 8 right now in the SEC, 14 and 12 overall. If you look at the teams around us, I mean, we have Alabama right above us and Florida right below us. Both of those teams are 6 and 8 as well. So, I mean, there's still some wiggle room there. But, I mean, looking at other places in the SEC, Kentucky's still up top, 14 and 0 now. They're 27 and 0. It's the best start that a Kentucky team has had in history. And I mean, you still have Arkansas, number 17 in the nation. They're up in the second place spot, 11-3 right now. And if we look at the Vols, the rest of the Vols schedule to see where they could possibly go with the SEC tournament, I mean, or if you want to go into the NCAA tournament. For the NCAA, they're going to have to win out. We have Vanderbilt coming up this Thursday. It's a home game. And then we have Florida, LSU, and South Carolina left. I don't really know how strong this is looking for the Vols.
I mean, you have to win out, and they're going to have a super strong showing in the
Absolutely.
SEC tournament. You're going to have to make the semifinals or the finals. And you're going to have to beat either probably an Arkansas or you're probably going to beat a Kentucky.
Mm-hmm.
The only team ahead of us that we have left on the schedule in the SEC is LSU.
Mm-hmm.
So even if we beat up on a bunch of those teams below us, it's still not
Absolutely.
that great.
Yeah, and I mean, a team like LSU, I mean, the last time we played them, we lost 73-55 a few weeks back. So, I mean, it could be like a chip on our shoulder going against them with the whole mentality of getting that redemption win. But it's just, I mean, like you said, Henry, they're the only team that, like, we really do have to look at. I mean, Florida, always a big game. Vanderbilt has a lot that they're going to be looking to get revenge with. I mean, last time we played them a couple weeks ago, we beat them in overtime 76-73, and quite possibly one of the best Vols games I've seen in a while. I was on the edge of my seat during the whole thing. So I want to hope for the best for the Vols. You're definitely right, Mason. Strong showing in the SEC tournament is what we're looking for. I mean, it would be great to see them in the NCAA, even with like a super low seed. Last season was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Granted, how that ended for the Vols, heartbreaking then, but I mean, we have a lot to really fall back on. And looking at the rest of the NCAA right now, the top teams are still pretty much the exact same. Kentucky's still up top, have been all season. Don't really see that changing for the end of the season. It could possibly, but you never know. Virginia is at second place, Gonzaga's third, Duke 4, Wisconsin 5th. So, I mean, the top 5, those are teams you expect to see. And we're getting into March Madness season, which is always a beautiful time of the year. So there's a lot to be looking forward to, and we'll be talking a lot more about that in the weeks to come. But, I mean, as of right now, the one thing that, like, is kind of keeping news going in college basketball is, will Kentucky ever stop? Who will stop Kentucky? But these are all still questions that are kind of just up in the air. Looking over at the Lady Vols, they've had a really solid week this past week. 2 huge SEC wins. On last Sunday, Lady Vols took on Kentucky here at home. Very big game for the Lady Vols. They won 72-58. It was really tough for Izzy, though. Izzy Harrison got injured, ACL. It didn't look good at all.
She's done for the season at this point.
Absolutely, and it's heartbreaking because, I mean, she's our go-to girl. You know,
Top rebounder and top scorer.
Exactly. So it's a question of who's going to step up. Who's going to step up and be the playmaker now? I mean, we've seen a lot from Ariel Massengale lately. I mean, in that game against Kentucky, she had 17 points on her own. 17 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists, and 1 steal. Big game for her. But it's just a matter of who's going to step up.
Yeah. It's still a very talented team. They're still very, very good.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Losing your top scorer and your top rebounder is going to hurt you when it comes to playing tournament time. You need somebody to go get points.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And looking over at Kentucky for this game, it wasn't really much of a surprise with Michaela Epps being practically their top player right now. I mean, you still have a lot of solid players that Matthew Mitchell can go to on his bench, especially like a player like Jennifer O'Neill. I mean, she can come into the game and be a game changer for the Lady Cats. But, I mean, Epps came into this game, scored 13 points, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 steals. That's really big for her getting those 3 steals. I mean, she's a solid player. Kentucky's men's and women's teams are both really solid. Kentucky, I mean, they're number 10 in the nation right now. That's not bad. They're pretty much in the middle, top of the middle of the race for the SEC for the women's. But, I mean, this game for the Lady Vols was huge. It was a very good win at home in front of the home crowd, so a lot to be proud of. That put the Vols at 12-0, the Lady Vols at 12-0 in the SEC. And then on Thursday night, they beat Alabama 77-56. Another huge win for the Lady Vols. Going into this, though, I mean, Alabama was, now they're 2-11 in the SEC. Still really low, but, I mean, Alabama, they're a team that can just turn on a dime whenever needed. But for this game, Ariel Massengale, again, 17 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists. I feel like she could be the go-to girl now. I mean, she has stepped up whenever she needs to. But, I mean, that's not really a big surprise. But looking at Sierra Burdick as well, she had 9 rebounds on the game, highest on the team against Alabama. So, I mean, this game looked really promising, too, because, like I said, it is another solid SEC win. But it's just, it still makes you worry about, like, what could have happened if Izzy was out there. Yeah. How could it have changed? Overall, I mean, this past week for the Lady Vols has been really exciting. Looking ahead to tonight, a big matchup for Lady Vols going against South Carolina, who's number 2 in the nation. They're still undefeated in the SEC. It's just, I'm not really sure what to expect for tonight's game.
Well, it's your first really, really big game without Izzy. And this is going to be a game that's going to decide a lot of tournament seeding in the SEC tournament.
Absolutely.
And the NCAA tournament. It's two of the better teams in the country going at it tonight.
Absolutely. And looking over for South Carolina, I mean, this team, for a while there, I was wondering if they would ever be able to be stopped. UConn comes in, beats them back on February 9th, 87-62. I mean, UConn, solid team there, number 1 in the nation. They're always a good team. That was a really good matchup. But looking at South Carolina's schedule this year, I mean, their games, I'm not really seeing any real close ones. Against Kentucky back in January, 68-60, that was a win there for South Carolina. Most of their games are by double digits, so I mean, especially in the SEC. The only relatively close game was against Kentucky. Yeah. So it's just, I don't really know what to expect with tonight. I'm kind of nervous about the game. I would love to see the Lady Vols come out and just take over and dominate, but I mean, it's a number 6 going against a number 2. So it's just, I don't really know.
There's a whole lot of difference between the two teams once you get that high in the rankings.
Yeah. Both
Everybody's
teams
good
undefeated in conference play.
Absolutely. And that's definitely going to be a really big key point, kind of like you mentioned, Mason. I mean, a lot rides on this matchup for the SEC and also for the NCAA. I mean, it's no surprise South Carolina is most likely going to be a number 1 seed, no matter where they're at in the bracket. But, I mean, if Tennessee wins tonight, that could put them into a top rank, maybe a 2 or a 3. I mean, most people are expecting a 3, I would say, right now. But, I mean, it would be great to have them up into a 2 with this win tonight. It would be a huge win. But still a lot to look forward to there. And, I mean, like I mentioned, in the SEC right now, South Carolina is the top-ranked team. Tennessee is 2nd. Mississippi State right behind at 10-4 in the conference. And then Texas A&M is right behind them. I mean, out of the top 6, 5 of the teams are ranked nationally for the women.
It's a really, really, really competitive league this year.
It really is. And I mean, the SEC is usually really competitive, but I think this is probably the most competitive conference we've had in a while.
For sure. I mean, you're going to have maybe 5 or 6 teams make the NCAA tournament. That's almost half the conference.
Absolutely.
Just making the tournament.
Yeah,
a really
and
strong year.
absolutely. And going off of that too, I mean, if you look at the rankings, all 5 teams, excuse me, from the SEC that are ranked right now are top 15 teams. I mean, Kentucky is the lowest ranking at number 13. Texas A&M is number 12, Mississippi State number 11, Tennessee and the South Carolina, like I mentioned, 6 and 2 respectively. There's just so much potential out of this group right now as well. And I mean, even the ones that aren't ranked, we could definitely see them in. I mean, LSU, you know they're going to be in the NCAA. It's kind of a given right now. I would see them being in there. Don't know where they would be at in the tournament, but depending on how well they do in the SEC, with them just being number 5 right now in the SEC, I mean, there's still a lot to look forward to. And looking over at the national rankings for women's, like I mentioned, Connecticut is number 1, South Carolina number 2, Baylor 3, Notre Dame 4. These are 4 teams you're pretty much used to seeing. I mean, South Carolina they've kind of been thrown into the mix lately. This is kind of new, but I mean, number 5, Maryland, Tennessee is number 6. These are all teams you're so used to seeing. And if you look through the rest of the rankings, Chattanooga is still at number 18. They were number 20 last week, so I mean, that's good they moved up. But we've seen them in the in the tournament as of late, I'm sorry. I mean, I think this could be a really exciting women's tournament this year. I don't want to look too much ahead into it, but I just have a feeling that there could be some magic in this one. Looking over at some other UT sports, we're going to go ahead and move on to softball for the Lady Vols. They are just doing so well. 11 and 3 overall right now. Most of their games have been at neutral sites. They're 9 and 3 at neutral sites, 2 and 0 away, which is really good. But their most recent games that they came up to were in California, the Mary Nutter Collegiate Classic. They went 2 and 3. Still not horrible. I mean, that's fairly decent for them. They beat Notre Dame, beat Florida State. 2 ranked teams you have right there. Notre Dame's 23, Florida State's number 8. They lost to California, number 20 in the nation. They lost to them 1-0. Then they went on to lose to Utah and Nebraska. They lost to Utah 4-3 and Nebraska 5-2. I mean, those were really close games. Neither of them are ranked, so it just kind of makes you wonder if that loss to California kind of rattled their brains a little bit.
I mean, they played 4 games in 3 days is a lot to play.
That is so much to play. I mean, you're absolutely right there. It kind of could have definitely been the pressure getting to them, definitely sleep.
Yeah.
Sleep definitely could have been a big one, having some rest in there. But they were supposed to have a home opener on the 24th against Georgia Tech, but it has been canceled, of course, because of the weather. But I think it was, most likely because of the weather. So that was supposed to be tomorrow, but the next home game you're going to be seeing is supposed to be against Murray State. It's for the Tennessee Classic, so I mean, yes, it is a tournament, but still home game. So we're going to be hoping to see that on the 27th against Murray State at 3 p.m., and then they'll play against Furman at 5:30 on the same day. So I'm really excited to see what the Lady Vols do this year. I mean, this is always a good team to watch, but I think they have a lot of potential. Looking over at baseball, not much has been happening lately because of the weather. There was supposed to be a home series against Rutgers last week, but Mother Nature just said, nope, we're not going to let baseball happen, sorry. So the series against Rutgers was canceled, but the Vols are still 2 and 2. They beat Florida International. They went 1 and 2 against Florida International, I'm sorry. They lost their opener to them. We'd mentioned that during our last show. They ended up beating Lipscomb on the 20th, 6-0 in Georgia. That's a solid win for the Vols right there. I mean, Lipscomb, usually a good team to watch. But looking at some of the final stats for that game, I mean, looking for the hits, I mean, you have 14 hits with 6 runs. That's not bad there. Derek Lance for the Vols had 3 hits on his own. Vincent Jackson had 3. Looking at some other players, Christian Stewart, he had 1 run, 2 hits. That's really solid for him. I mean, everybody's expecting him to have a really solid season. Great ball player there. I mean, not too bad for the Vols. They were able to hold Lipscomb to 1 hit overall. That was from Massey, their shortstop. So that's really impressive to see. I mean, only 1 hit. So close to a no-hitter. Yeah. So close it hurts. But I think the Vols baseball team definitely has a lot to look forward to this year. Yeah. Could be really exciting. I don't know if they're going to be able to go into the NCAA. We would love to see that happen. But, I mean, the SEC is always a tough conference to play in. especially with teams like South Carolina in the mix. I mean, we're going to see South Carolina going pretty far. I think that's easy to go ahead and predict that much. But, I mean, overall, should be really exciting season for the Lady Vol softball team and the men's baseball team. We're still waiting for it to really get underway because right now it's just tournaments.
Yeah.
So, it's still really solid starts from both. I'd love to see the men get away from that 500 mark, but it'll just take some time. But their first home game, is scheduled for the 24th of this month against Lipscomb. So Lipscomb could definitely have a chip on their shoulder saying, okay, redemption time. We're going to get this. But I don't know. The Vols are just I think they'll be looking to just continue that domination against them.
Yeah.
Looking over to pro baseball real quick, we'll go ahead and segue into that. Spring training is underway as of last week. Pitchers and catchers started reporting on Wednesday and wrapped it up on Friday. So we're going to be getting ready to talk about baseball in the coming weeks. April is just around the corner whenever baseball season will start, and that'll be a beautiful time, as well as NHL's. The NHL season is kind of dwindling down a little bit. I want to say the first playoff game is April 12th, so we're really going to be getting into that playoff mindset. We'll be talking more about that. So whenever
Trade deadline is also coming up.
Yeah, the trade deadline is really coming up fast. That's very soon, isn't it? How close is it?
I think it's like the end of this month.
Man, that's going to be really interesting, especially at this time of year. So there's still so much to look forward to. We'll talk more about the draft coming up in a few weeks. Actually, it might be the end of March, I believe it is. I think they've moved the date. They've kind of been going back and forth the past few years. So, I mean, still a lot to talk about, but we'll be getting back into more pro sports as well in the coming weeks. But there's still a lot to talk about with UT. And next week we'll be focusing more on basketball. Basketball season's dwindling down. We're getting ready for tournament season like we've talked about a lot already, going into the SEC tournament and then seeing where both of these teams could go for the NCAA. So there's still a lot to look forward to. So we hope you'll join us next week.